opportunity to thank everybody for participating in the process and for being here tonight. The public hearing of the Baltimore County Council will now come to order. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome. We are holding this public hearing under Section 207 of the Baltimore County Charter to hear public comments on the recommendation of the Redistricting Commission. The 2021 Councilmanic Redistricting Commission was formed in March to make recommendations on the new boundaries for the 7 councilmanic districts following the 2020 census. The 5 commission members selected Robert Latshaw, who's here this evening, to be the chair of the commission. The commission held 3 public hearings in June and also set up an email address in order to receive public input during this process. The commission also held public hearings in April, July, August, and September. During these public meetings, the commission developed a recommended map on September the 23rd and voted to adapt that map on September the 30th. The commission submitted its recommendations to the County Council on October the 6th. This included a written report, a recommended map, and draft legislation, which is posted on the council's website. We are now at the stage of the redistricting process for the council to consider the commission's recommendation and adapt a final redistricting plan, which brings us to tonight's public hearing. All of us on the council recognize the importance of public input in this process, and we appreciate everyone attending and expressing their views and opinions on redistricting. The rules of procedure for the public hearing are as follows. Anyone wishing to testify should have registered online today between the hours of 9 and 3 p.m. using the speaker registration form on the council's virtual sessions and hearings webpage. Each registered speaker will be given 3 minutes to testify. And we're asking everyone to please be respectful of the 3-minute time frame, because we have somewhere around close to 40 people registered to speak. And what happens is, as we move on through the process, if it takes too long, people can drop off and not have an opportunity to speak. So please be respectful of the 3 minutes. The council members, if they desire, may also ask brief questions. Also want to mention that written testimony can also be submitted to our email address, which is countycouncil@baltimorecountymd.gov. countycouncil@baltimorecountymd.gov. And then that email, whatever you send, will be distributed to all the council members. So, are there any questions or comments from the members before we get started? Okay, at this time, I would like to have Mr. Robert Latshaw, who is the chairman of the Redistricting Commission, say a few words.
Thank you, Chairman Jones. It's my honor to serve again on the Redistricting Commission, as you all had asked me to do 10 years ago in 2011. Apparently, we have received some criticism for the work that was done, but I do have to point out that we had a commission group of 5 members. We had 2 attorneys. We had a community activist. We had a businesswoman from the northeast section of the county. And I could not have asked for 4 more fine, more dedicated people than those individuals. I am a bit disappointed at the press and some of the criticism that the commission has received because of the map that we presented. I'd like to point out that the map that we made showed or turned out to have very little change from the previous map, except for some glowing errors, which I happen to be in favor of. And one of those we tried to correct was the thumb imprint that went from Perry Hall and covered Towson. One of our objectives was to make that district a bit more compact, which we were able to do. And we took Councilwoman Bevan's district and moved it a little bit west to include Towson. The appearance of the map is much improved, and most of the communities have been maintained that we tried to do. Now, some of the criticism that has come up, the maps presented, resulted in a sort of disagreement, I guess, that the ACLU and NAACP were concerned about, that Baltimore County now has an African American population of about 29.5%. We were well aware of that. We were aware that that percentage might look on the surface as if Baltimore County ought to have 2 African American council people. The difficulty in trying to break up some communities and create a gerrymandered 2 districts where there were slightly African American in population, perhaps 53, 54%, does cause a difficulty. And I think some people may have missed the practicality, or as I call it, politics 101. For example, if a district has 53% African American, it's very possible in that district and the other for there to be 3 African American candidates in the primary. And I may point out at the current time, both of those areas are primarily Democratic areas, and 1 white gentleman or 1 white lady running for the same office. What happens is that possibly the 3 African Americans could split up the vote, and then the white candidate would wind up winning. Now, I don't believe that people vote because of color or for color, but that's what could happen. And I look back at when Martin O'Malley won the mayoral race in Baltimore City, I believe there were 4 or 5 African American candidates in a primarily African American jurisdiction, and he became the mayor. Suffice to say, that's what could happen. We did not want to change much of the districts that we have now, nor did we want to change much of the 4th district, where there is a very solid, approximately 70% African American population in the 4th district. We wanted to maintain that. Because there are 29% African Americans spread out through the county, my understanding that District 4 has about 85,000 African Americans, and the total African American population in the county is 254,000, which are spread all over the county. It was not easy or practical for us to be able to make 2 districts where there was a very high majority of African Americans. Back to the question, do people vote color? I don't think so. Not anymore. Look at Barack Obama. Barack Obama won. Coincidentally, I'm a Republican. Coincidentally, I voted for Barack Obama. The color of your county council person is not the same as it is in Congress. In local politics, I call it service politics and politics 101. The county council people provide service to the constituents. Constituents are concerned about their streets being paved, their streets being plowed in the snow, and a bunch of other activities, including education, which are mostly local. It doesn't make much difference if you're African American or white or Asian or Hispanic on how the people take care of their constituents. A county council person wants to help their constituents. They would like to be reelected, and they do it by service. And service is not, in my opinion, or in our commission necessarily, related to color. You look at the gerrymandering that the state did 10 years ago, and some of the folks who voted for what turned out to be, by, I think it was the federal courts, some of the worst gerrymandering in the United States. A couple of those folks are saying that our redistricting was not correct. And gerrymandering, as everybody knows, is the manipulation of boundaries of an electoral constituency to favor one party or class. To create the two districts that we're accused of not making would in fact be gerrymandering. I think we did a fine job. I did think we did the best job we could. And I will tell you that the 4 other people on this commission were dedicated, fine, upstanding citizens of Baltimore County. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Chairman Latshaw. We certainly appreciate your work and all the work of the members of the commission. And now we will move on and start the hearing. Ms. Belcastro, the first speaker, and again, I would just ask people to please be respectful of the time. When your time is up, you're going to hear a timer go off, and then we would ask that you end your comments rather quickly, please, so that we can be respectful of everybody's time and get this done and give everybody an opportunity to speak. Ms. Belcastro, take it away.
Certainly, Mr. Chair. Just a note that I do not have a timer this evening. I do have a timer, but there will not be a bell. But what I will intercept and just ask the speaker to wrap up their comments that their time limit is up.
Okay, I'm correct. Thank you.
Our first speaker this evening that's registered is Justin Nally. Mr. Nally.
Good evening. Can you all hear me?
Yes, we can. You may begin your testimony.
Thank you. Good evening, Chair and members of the Baltimore County Council. My name is Justin Nally. I am the policy analyst at the ACLU of Maryland. This is my first time in front of this body, so I do appreciate the opportunity to speak with you today. I do want to first acknowledge Mr. Lashaw's comments, and I understand I would really like to also live in this post-racial world that the commission has chosen to live in, but there is also compliance with the Voting Rights Act that needs to be addressed. So for those reasons, the ACLU of Maryland opposes the recommendations put forth by the Redistricting Commission and respectfully urges the council to reject the commission's plan. Now, Baltimore County has experienced tremendous diverse growth over the past 10 years, and this needs to be reflected and embraced in how the community gets to choose candidates of their choice. The number of white residents in the county has decreased by 13%, and there's been an increase in the number of Black residents by 22%. Overall, residents of color now comprise 47% of the county's total population. But for the purposes of redistricting, we must use voting age population as the more accurate measure of electoral potential in drawing these maps. The voting age population for the county is an estimated 46% residents of color with 30% Black. The map put forth by the commission does not use voting age population, nor does it take into account the changes in the county population over the past 10 years. This is shown by an estimated 6 of the new 7 council districts have a majority white voting age population, while the majority of Black voters are packed into the current District 4. The ACLU of Maryland, along with the Baltimore County NAACP, have submitted 4 options for the county to consider for the maps. Each proposal creates 2 majority Black districts based on voting age population and a 3rd equally split district. Each map complies with the Voting Rights Act and the ability for minority voters to participate in the political process. To be clear, the council should view our maps as options to show that 2 majority Black districts can and should be created to comply with the Voting Rights Act. We welcome any other maps that council chooses to create in this spirit and is in accordance with the county charter. 1 majority Black district was sufficient in 2001, but 20 years later, that is no longer the case. This one district has been able to carry and elevate the voice of the Black community, but with the change in population, it's time to support that district and comply with the Voting Rights Act by creating another majority Black council district. I thank you for your time. If there are any legal questions, we can definitely answer those offline and direct those to our legal team. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Neely. Ms. Belcastro, next speaker, please.
Our next speaker is Sonia Shah. And bear with me.
And while we're waiting, while you find Ms. Shaw, let me just thank the ACLU and NAACP for all your work and advocacy on this issue. We certainly appreciate it and welcome your comments and your maps.
Mr. Chair, I have Ms. Shah. Ms. Shah?
Yes, thank you. Thank you for this opportunity to address the council. I'm a journalist and author, and I've lived in Towson's 5th District with my family since 2008. My husband teaches biology at Towson University, and our 2 boys attended Baltimore County Public Schools. I'm testifying before you tonight for the first time because I'm concerned about our freedom to elect leaders that truly represent the people of this county. Over the past decades, as we've heard, Baltimore County has steadily diversified. In 1980, we were 10% Black. In 2000, we were 20% Black. And today we are 30% Black and 47% of us are non-white. That's nearly half. Our diversity is a strength that benefits all of us in the county. And thanks to the Voting Rights Act, by law, it must be reflected in the district lines by which we elect leaders to represent us, not only on the county council, but also on our school board. New, more diverse districts with Black and brown majorities would allow all of us to fully participate in the policing, housing, educational, and other policy decisions that shape our lives, not as small and marginal minorities in most of the districts, but as majorities as well. Unfortunately, despite these dramatic changes in our demographics, the county's Redistricting Commission proposes to divide us into districts in which very little changes at all, 6 out of 7 districts remaining majority white, just as they have been since 2001. The greater Towson district remains bifurcated, obstructing our ability to tackle pressing environmental challenges that face us. I believe that this map does not serve the people of Baltimore County. I do see, however, that it serves the political interests of incumbents. It makes it easier for them to pursue re-election. This is a conflict of interest, and I think the council can rise above it and advocate for the people's interests and not just their own. But to do that, they must involve us in the process. I'm glad the Baltimore Sun wrote an article about this hearing this morning because the council's outreach to the public since the map was released consisted of an announcement in an obscure newspaper to which less than 0.3% of the county's residents subscribe. The good news to me is that the council can make this right, and I trust they will, by rejecting this pro-incumbent and anti-voter map and immediately scheduling additional public hearings and district town halls to engage the people of this county so that we may chart our shared future together. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Shaw. Next speaker, Ms. Valcastro.
Certainly. Our next speaker is Erica McDonald. Ms. McDonald?
Hi,
Yes.
I'm Erica McDonald, the co-president of the League of Women Voters of Baltimore County and a District 1 constituent. The League calls for the creation of a new map that fully considers the rights of people of color and the requirements of the Voting Rights Act. We believe that the current plan unlawfully dilutes the votes of minority residents. Because of the long history of racial inequality and in representation in Baltimore County, it is imperative that race is considered in the drawing of the county council districts. The standards on which a redistricting plan is based must have substantially equal population and must be compact and contiguous, as well as effective representation of racial and linguistics minorities. The plan approved by the commission would create a single minority majority district and 6 majority white districts, despite the county's 47% people of color. The proposed plan considers some aspects of race, but it misses the broader issue, which is the importance of effective representation. It states that the long-standing problem of electing minority representatives is the problem of the people, that parties must run electable candidates, instead of recognizing that it is the legal responsibility of the county council to create districts that give people of color equal representation. The plan misses the very real challenge of systemic inequality faced by racial minorities in Baltimore County. Since the creation of District 4 in 2001, Black candidates have been elected in all 5 cycles. Creation of another majority-minority district would have a real impact on the lives of the county's minority residents and a real impact on issues of racial inequity, transportation, education, police reform, affordable housing, etc. The many alternative maps put forth by Baltimore County groups demonstrate that it is possible to draw a map that gives people of color a real voice in their government, and we believe it's time for that change. We ask the County Council to create a new map and include the people of Baltimore County in future hearings to enable their participation. And thank you for hearing me and for including me in this hearing. Thank you.
Thank you for your comments, Ms. McDonald. Next speaker, Ms. Belcastro.
Our next speaker is Rose Kinder. Ms. Kinder?
Yes, can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
Thank you, Mr. Council Chairperson and members of the Baltimore County Council. I'm a longtime resident of Towson, and I come here tonight to speak in strong opposition to the council district plan as produced by the commission. There are many here tonight to address the racial inequities of the proposed plan. I agree with them that these proposed new council districts, that we should have at least 2 Black majority districts. Further, I am vehemently opposed to the proposed districts that include Towson. And I did participate in the Redistricting Commission, testifying and also providing written testimony. Towson, oh Towson, where are you? While incumbent gerrymandering is not illegal, it is odious to many residents of Towson, as we have been and again are proposed to be a wedged councilmanic district from which to crack or pack residents. The Redistricting Commission report on page 9 gives the best summary of this cracking and packing strategy for Towson. Quote, the commission decided to retain the Charles Street western boundary border. However, due to population constraints in trying to unify Towson, the commission moved the northern Towson border down from I-695 to Joppa Road, so that District 3 now extends south of I-695. District 6, rather than ending at the Country Club of Maryland, is extended north to Joppa Road and west to Charles Street, end quote. That is council district gerrymandering, breaking up the Towson community to include areas that are far to the east. Why? The district lines for a Towson inclusive district should begin initially at the horizontal city-county line at Charles Street and move north and east in equal parts to achieve a Towson-centric district that includes the full downtown Towson area. What has been proposed for Towson stinks, and I urge you to reject it. When you know better, you can do better. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Kinder, for your comments.
Mr. Chairman. Mr.
Yes,
Chairman.
Councilman Marks.
Yes, Ms. Kinder, I want to thank you for your comments. I certainly support creating, making Towson as whole as possible within a council district. But I do want to point out something that always seems to get lost. Adam, can you put up the congressional map, please? I've been going to meetings for years, and I hear about Towson being splintered, and it never is discussed how Towson and many other communities are splintered among the congressional districts. Adam, are you sharing that? And I just think it's worth pointing out, and I hope that everyone who is talking tonight about keeping communities whole remembers that we have a state legislative redistricting and a congressional redistricting as well coming up. Adam, is that up?
You're
He's
muted,
sharing.
Adam.
Yeah, it should be showing.
Okay,
Is it not?
It's
I'm not seeing it on my end. I just
Okay.
want to point that out because, the Towson map, certainly, there we go. The Towson map can certainly be improved, but let's not kid ourselves that gerrymandering occurs at the state and federal levels as well, and by both parties across the country. Okay, thank you.
that it, Councilman Martin?
That's it.
Well, while we are on the subject, let me just put a plug in. Speaker Adrian Jones is running the state redistricting or having a public hearing on November the 3rd at the Owings Mills Library at 6 p.m., where she wants to hear from Baltimore County residents as it relates to the redistricting for the state of Maryland and the congressional districts in the state. November the 3rd, Owings Mills Public Library, 6 p.m. Next speaker, Ms. Belcastro.
Certainly, Mr. Chair.
Thank you, Adam.
Our next speaker is Peter Richkes. Ms. Richkes?
Thank you.
Mhm.
Good evening. Ignoring the will of the people is not responsive nor accountable government. The map proposed by the Council's Redistricting Commission flies in the face of the constitutional right of every individual to representative government. It intentionally dilutes representation of approximately 47% of Baltimore County's population who are BIPOC, and it undermines Baltimore County's vital communities. The council should not dismiss the threat of legal action. Even if ultimately unsuccessful, the cost to the taxpayers will be significant. And remember, ACLU and NAACP have a track record for successfully challenging the county in court. Former Maryland Secretary of State John Willis, an attorney, historian of Maryland politics, and someone who knows a great deal about redistricting, also predicts a court case if the proposed map is not changed in response to the criticisms raised. The council should be aiming for best, not worst practices regarding the redistricting process. Not providing the legally required minimum 7-day notification for this meeting is wrong. The solution, the council should schedule additional public meetings with adequate public notice. The Redistricting Commission seems to have ignored the 106 pages of written testimony and many hours of in-person testimony in its report. The solution, the council should review that testimony in its own due diligence, and it should post today's written testimony online, as the commission did of its testimony. The tone-deaf comments of some commissioners and their reports' claims contradict what should be an open, objective process. The solution? Denounce the report's claim that, quote, demographic concentration, end quote, and the, quote, limitations created by the geography and physical shape of Baltimore County, end quote, preclude creating 2 majority Black districts, because this is factually untrue. NAACP and the ACLU offered now 4 possible maps. Indivisible Team Towson members offered other alternatives. Clearly, additional solutions can be found. Redistricting is Baltimore County's opportunity to fairly reflect our growing and diversifying population, to put voters' interests first, and to ensure the voters can choose their elected representatives, not the other way around. We must, in this once-in-a-decade redistricting process, make sure we get fair maps that allow the growing population of Baltimore County's minority voters to have the opportunity to elect candidates of their choice. Additionally, it is long past time to support community cohesion. By
Ms.
fact,
Richards, I'm sorry, I don't mean to interrupt. If you could wrap up your comments, you're
I
over
shall.
your time limit.
Thank you. By factoring in the logic of community boundaries, the current district lines set 10 years ago divide and undermine communities like Towson. The proposed district lines 10 years later make it worse. The council can and must do better. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Rickus. Thank you for your comments. Next speaker, Ms. Belcastro.
Our next speaker is Mr. Pete Munsey. Mr. Munsey?
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Chairman and the other members of the council. My remit here is brief and relatively parochial on the subject matters otherwise spoken of, and not nearly as eloquent as Ms. Kinner, Ms. Shaw, and Ms. Richkus. I'm just here representing the Cromwood Coventry Community Association, 400 homes and over 1,000 people, separating Joppa and Cromwell Bridge Road in Parkville. More importantly, we're less than a mile from Towson. When there's road work in Towson, that affects us. When there's home building, business development, traffic jam, it all affects us. We are affected by what happens in our immediate area. We should have a say in what happens in our immediate area. Nothing against the great people of the 3rd District or the representatives. And I realize districts are malleable, to say the least, but it borders on the comic and almost tragic. If our neighborhood, hard by the Baltimore Beltway, now finds itself, in effect, straddling the Pennsylvania state line. That's all I have to say. Thank you for your time and consideration. And in this one respect, I think we can do better. Thanks.
Mr. Munsey, I thank you for your comments, sir, and your participation. Ms. Belcastro, next speaker, please.
Our next speaker, Mr. Chair, is Lori Geis. Ms. Geis?
Hi, good evening, Chairman Jones and members of the Baltimore County Council. My name, as has been said, is Lori Geis. I have been a Towson resident for over 35 years and am currently the president of the Towson Communities Alliance, formerly known as GTCCA. The Towson Communities Alliance is a nonprofit umbrella group for more than 30 Towson neighborhoods in various zip codes: 21204, 21212, 21286, and 21239, a very diverse population. We're here to actually oppose the proposed redistricting map, which again redistricts or annexes some of our Towson communities to other council districts. While it's understood that redistricting is necessary due to the changing population and diversity, it is also mandated by the Baltimore County Redistricting Manual to create districts that are compact, contiguous, and most importantly, with due regard to community boundaries. The current map, while keeping some of Towson together, yet again annexes some of our closest neighbors and valued members of the Towson Communities Alliance. As the county seat and a major revitalization area, it's imperative that our neighbors and our communities affected by Towson's growth and revitalization have one representative who understands our concerns. We're asking that the maps be redrawn to include all of our Towson communities and neighbors. In particular are the communities of Campus Hills, Towson Estates, Cromwell Valley, which is precinct 09010, and Chatterley. Not to mention our friends south of the Beltway to the west in precinct 09006. Even some of our Towson businesses have been redistricted or reallocated to another district. Keeping Towson together is serving our communities properly. In conclusion, there may be a better solution than just counting numbers. Thank you for your time and good evening.
Thank you, Ms. Geis. We appreciate your comments and your participation. Ms. Belcastro, next speaker.
Our next speaker is Colleen Ebacher. I hope I'm saying that correctly. Are you there?
Yes.
Yes, thank you very much, Eva. Sure. Thank you. Good evening, Councilman Jones and council members. I'm a 28-year resident of District 3, wife and mother of 4. I'm also, as some of you know, a professor at Towson University, where I teach Spanish and Latin American studies. Rather than share numbers and statistics, which others have and will be able to do more effectively than I can, I wish to tell you about one particular class I teach this semester. The class has 20 students, 10 of whom are either immigrated themselves and are first generation, or whose parents immigrated and are second generation immigrants. They or their parents came to us from El Salvador, Mexico, Paraguay, Argentina, Dominican Republic, and Ecuador. They are all minority students. Recently, we read the story of a migrant who spoke about her experience as a student of English as a second language. And a student in the class raised her hand to say she had also been an ESOL student, and another 5 confirmed that they too had learned English with the assistance of the Baltimore County Public School system. They shared with us their experiences and their recommendations on how that system might be improved. The voices in my classroom are diverse, often enthusiastic, and always backed up by a wealth of experiences that enrich our discussions and disagreements. That diversity makes us think beyond ourselves and to consider problems that otherwise might have gone unnoticed. Together, we seek to consider all perspectives and work towards solutions. My students think big and they dream big. They represent the rich diversity that should be represented on the council. They are the voices of tomorrow. We know this. We will be a majority minority country in the lifetimes of many of those present at this meeting. As council members, your job is to have the vision to give others a voice. It is not to cling to a view of who we are that is not reflected in reality. The map proposed by the council's Redistricting Commission clings to a view of Baltimore County that does not recognize the many voices in my classroom, nor for that matter, the many voices of Baltimore County. The young people I teach every day will lead us tomorrow. You must do what is difficult and make sure that they are heard. Thank you for hearing me tonight.
Thank you, Ms. Ebacher. We certainly appreciate your service and your comment. Next speaker, Ms. Belcastro.
Our next speaker is Daryl Yoder. Mr.
Good
Yoder.
evening. Good evening, and thank you for the opportunity. I've lived with my family in Councilmanic District 1 for more than 10 years now. And I feel there's simply no excuse for a map which creates one majority non-white district out of 7 in a county where almost half of the residents are not white. There's really none, especially because we all know that voters of different races are not spread evenly across the county in a way that would make them hard to separate. We all know that our neighborhoods remain largely segregated by color. It's been suggested by some that the reason that there are not more council people of color is that not enough qualified candidates of color are running for office, and that if they did, they ought to be electable in any district. But this requires us to believe that no qualified Black candidate has ever run for a council seat anywhere in the county before the lawsuit in 2001, which resulted in the creation of our first majority Black district. And then coincidentally, a qualified Black candidate appeared and was elected, and another qualified candidate who was Black followed him. And they just all happened to be in that new district. I don't think that's a reasonable interpretation of reality. No majority white district in the county has ever elected a non-white council person. So we have every reason to believe that this map would once again give us 6 out of 7 white council members in a 47% non-white county. And that matters, it's not irrelevant. Because when people see what is supposed to be a representative government body, and that body year after year and decade after decade never looks like them, is always disproportionately skewed towards the majority, they lose faith in it. They stop engaging with it. They stop believing in it. And when they stop engaging with it, their ability to have their priorities heard, to have their needs met, becomes even less. I understand the desire of elected officials to have a process that makes their reelection easier. That's completely natural, and I don't think that means that anyone is evil. But I would like to think that our Baltimore County representatives can do better than that, and that they are willing to place the health of our county's democracy for the next 10 years above their own personal electoral hopes. We have a chance to make a real long-term difference for democracy here. And please, let's not waste it. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Calabri.
Mr. Chairman, Mr. Chairman.
Yes, Councilman Marks.
I want to clarify something before we go on, because I understand that the Secretary of the Maryland Democratic Party is twisting around something that I said. All I was saying is that if you care about compact boundaries at the county level, voice your concern also with the state and federal redistricting as well. That's all I was saying. It's a shame it's being twisted by a very partisan individual, but I just wanted to get that out there. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilman Marks. Again, thank you, Mr. Calabri, for your comments and your participation tonight. Ms. Valcastro, next speaker, please.
Yes, Mr. Chair. That was actually Mr. Yoder. I'm getting ready to call Mr. Calgary.
Oh, okay. I'm sorry.
That's okay. We're all following from the same list.
Yeah, sorry, Mr. Yoder. Thank you so much for your comment.
Mr. Calgary?
Thank you, and thank you to Chairman Jones and the other members of the Baltimore County Council. My name is Henry Calgary, and tonight I'm speaking as the president of the Campus Hills Community Association, which is located in precinct 09010. That precinct has historically been included with the other precincts, or at least the majority of precincts in the Towson area. Currently, it is represented by Councilman David Marks in District 5. Under the proposed map, as you can see on the screen, it has been redrawn into District 3. Now, while Campus Hills has much in common with our neighbors in Lutherville, Timonium, and Hampton, it has historically always been part of the larger Towson area. We're part of the we're part of the Towson Community Alliance. We're part of and close neighbors with our other members in that organization. We're inside the Beltway, and culturally, politically, economically, and geographically have more in common with Towson than any other jurisdiction. Members of the council, the Campus Hills Community Association would ask that precinct 09010 be redrawn into Council District 6. That district, while it does not cover all of Towson, certainly does cover the vast majority of it, and I would actually applaud the members of the Redistricting Commission for doing more to make the Towson area a little more clearly defined. But I think more can be done, and especially speaking on behalf simply of my own community, by putting that precinct, which also includes Goucher College, which is a major educational establishment within the Towson area, and includes many other communities. Some of them have already been mentioned. I think placing those all in one Towson district simply makes more sense than having it be placed in the North Baltimore County district. Again, I applaud the work of the commission. I understand it's a very difficult process. Again, it's one where there's a lot of challenges that come along with it. But I would also ask the members of the council to make changes to it to reflect what the community is saying here tonight. And I'd simply ask that 09010 be placed into District 6 with the vast majority of Towson. Thank you.
Thank you for your comments and your participation, Mr. Calgary. We appreciate it. Next speaker, Ms. Valcastro.
Our next speaker is Jason Barker. Mr. Barker.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Chairman, members of the council and commission. Excuse me. My name is Jason Barker. I'm the president of the Chatterley Association, which is a voluntary community organization that represents the interests of 416 households near Loch Raven High School. We are in precinct 09009 in the current District 5. Chatterley opposes the commission's proposed redistricting as, in our view, it violates Section 207B of the county charter, which requires, among other things, that the commission recommend legislation that shall provide for councilmanic districts that are compact, contiguous, and substantially equal in population, and in which due regard is given to current community boundaries. Retention of community boundaries is a compelling interest of the commission that was clearly disregarded. The commission's proposed redistricting fails to provide due regard, indeed any regard, for Towson community boundaries. Instead, it perpetuates the disaggregation of the Towson community. Specifically, the proposal fails to preserve those fixed and known features which enable voters to maintain an orientation to their own territorial areas. The Chatterley community and those precincts south of Loch Raven are indelibly linked, oriented toward the greater Towson community, both historically and currently. My neighbors work, shop, and attend schools in Towson. The services we seek are aligned with Towson, not northern Baltimore County. We share these bonds with our neighbors both north and south of the Towson roundabout, and into the east to Lock Hill and to the west to Campus Hills. The Chatterley Association, too, is a member of the Towson Communities Alliance, which under the commission's proposal would span 4 separate districts. The proposed redistricting appears to protect the seats of incumbent council members while providing no direct representation for the greater Towson community as a whole. The commission report demonstrates a slavish adherence to developing mathematically equivalent populations in the proposed districts, while capriciously ignoring the obligation to propose districts that reflect community boundaries. And even accepting that retaining community boundaries is a secondary interest of the commission, it is clear that the proposal fails to develop compact and contiguous districts, its primary interest, as the new odd District 6 exemplifies. There are multiple ways that redistricting can more effectively represent the Towson community. Redraw the map to include all precincts that center on Towson, including communities in North Towson, similar to the old District 4. Allow for more variance in population among districts, which clearly plenty of leeway, or develop additional districts that more closely align to per capita national averages for county council representation. In conclusion, the Chatterley Association respectfully recommends that the council reject the commission's proposed redistricting plan. The commission should literally be returned to the drawing board. Thank you for this opportunity.
Thank you, Mr. Barker. The comments and participation. Ms. Balcasser, next speaker, please.
Our next speaker is Nisha McCoy. Ms. McCoy,
Yes, I'm here.
you may begin your testimony.
Yes. My name is Naisha McCoy, and can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
Okay. And I am in the 4th district. I am testifying against the Baltimore County redistricting maps. The way the Baltimore County redistricting maps is drawn, it severely dilutes representation among minority residents of Baltimore County, giving non-minorities more an advantage in elections. The reason why this redistricting map is receiving criticism is because it is not representative of the entire Baltimore County community, as Mr. Lashtar alluded to. That is why the Baltimore County redistricting map violates the Voting Rights Act. I am a believer in fair representation and placing minorities in a single district while non-minorities are spread among 6 or 7 districts is unfair and wholly unacceptable. If Baltimore County is truly serious about equity and diversity, it will benefit most from using the district maps drawn by Baltimore County NAACP. The Baltimore County NAACP redistricting plan will create 2 majority Black districts, 1 mixed race, and 4 majority white districts, which does not violate the which does not violate the Voting Rights Act and is in keeping with the racial makeup of Baltimore County or any other map that does not violate the law. Baltimore County must have the political will to do better by all of its citizens. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. McCoy, for your comments and participation. Appreciate it. Ms. Belcastro, next speaker, please.
Our next speaker is Sheldon Laskin. Mr. Laskin.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Chairman and members of the council and the commission. My name is Sheldon Laskin. I'm a resident of the 2nd Councilmanic District. I've lived there for over 20 years. I'm treasurer of the Baltimore County Progressive Democrats and a member of Jews United for Justice. According to the latest U.S. Census, almost 40% of the population in Texas is white, over 39% is Hispanic, almost 12% is Black, and over 5% is Asian. But in the initial redistricting map of the Texas House, most eligible voters in over 59% of the districts are white, and 20% are Hispanic, and less than 3% are Black. No district has an Asian majority, and an 18% no group has a majority. Does Baltimore County really want to emulate Texas in its redistricting? Like Texas, does Baltimore County really want to pack most minority voters into one majority-minority district? Baltimore County should do better. Baltimore County can do better. And Baltimore County should want to do better. Please reject the current racially biased map and produce a map Baltimore County can be proud of, instead of a Texas map. Thank you.
Thank you also, Mr. Laskin. Next speaker, Ms. Belcastro.
Our next speaker is Daria Stein. Ms. Stein.
Yes. Hi. Good evening. My name is Daria Stein. I represent a group of students at the University of Maryland, Baltimore School of Social Work. As aspiring future social service providers in Baltimore County, we are opposed to the County Commission's proposed redistricting plan. Due to the significant demographic shifts in the county, we feel that the current plan does not adequately represent the 47% of Black, Indigenous, and people of color that make up the county's population. As social workers, our interest in this plan includes thoughts about how it will affect our future careers. Our ability to provide services is directly influenced by decisions and policies enacted on the local and state level. By creating districts that do not represent the county's demographics, this plan limits the ability of people of color to shape policies that specifically address unique issues faced by their communities. By extension, this will also limit our ability to practice with an eye towards inclusion, diversity, and restorative justice. With these thoughts in mind, we urge the council to reject the current plan in favor of a more equitable redistricting plan. Thank you for your time.
Thank you, Ms. Stein, for your participation and your comments. We really appreciate it. Ms. Belcastro, next speaker, please.
Our next speaker, Mr. Chair, is Ryan Coleman. Mr. Coleman.
Good evening, Chairman Jones, council members, Randallstown NAACP members, and community members. My name is Ryan Coleman. I'm the president of the Randallstown NAACP. The plight of African American political representation in American politics has been very turbulent. Immediately following the Civil War, there was a substantial increase in the number of African Americans elected. However, their tenure would be short-lived. Once African Americans took their places in the legislative chambers, many Southern whites responded with violence, intimidation tactics, and the creation of racially gerrymandered to dilute minority voting strength. The passage of the Voting Rights Act of 1965 and its subsequent amendments called for the creation of minority majority districts that allowed African Americans to elect a candidate of their choice. This allowed African Americans to elect a number of Blacks to serve in political offices. One of the signature achievements of the Civil Rights Movement was to provide African Americans with an opportunity to exercise their constitutional right to vote. This allowed them to enjoy full inclusion in American society by electing representatives who could make much needed changes to public policies and the resources that would alleviate racial inequity. In Baltimore County, the African American population is 30% and should equate to 2 council members. The 4th district has over 72% African Americans in the district. This fully illustrates the concept of packing, which is illegal. Packing is a term used when minority voters are compressed into a small number of districts when they could effectively control more. This is the case in Baltimore County. No African American has won elected office in a white majority district in Baltimore County ever. We could move precincts 02028 and 02009 to the 2nd Councilmanic district to create a 2nd African American district of 53%. We could make a 3rd district where the African Americans having a dominant percentage in the 1st Councilmanic district by restoring Woodlawn, by adding precincts 02031, 02001, 002, 003. The 4th Councilmanic district would continue to be a 3rd minority majority district with over 60% African Americans. This is of course just one way to do this, and it's not the only way. Why will we open up a map to legal challenge for restricting minority votes? What about our moral obligation to justice and fairness? Let's do the right thing. John Lewis stated, when you see something that is not right, not fair, not just, you have to speak up. You have to say something. You have to do something. The Redistricting Commission map is not fair. The Randallstown NAACP requests the council do the right thing and ensure everyone has equal representation in Baltimore County. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Coleman. We appreciate your comments and your participation. Ms. Castro, next speaker, please.
Our next speaker, Mr. Chair, is Michael Ertel. Mr. Ertel.
I'm here. Thank you. Thank you, Chair Jones and members of the County Council for having this hearing tonight. I think we can all agree that it's not 1955 in Baltimore County anymore. Back in 1955 is when the current government structure was established, which included a 7-member council. And we've had that same 7-member council since then. In 1955, the county's population was 290,000 people, and now we're at 830,000 people, yet we have never seriously looked at expanding council districts to include additional council districts, and the charter doesn't address it. And I'm not sure why county government has never looked at this seriously, but it would be an easy way to bring the county up to the national average. Someone else had talked about that. The national average for council representation in the U.S. is about 1 in 85,000 to 90,000 people. We're at 1 in 120,000 people. And in Towson in particular, we had our own council district that was removed back in 2001 and put on the Liberty Road corridor in order to elect the first African American council person in the county's history. And the Liberty Road corridor has actually had tremendous population growth over the years. And if we went to 9 council districts, we could have another council district on the Liberty Road corridor that would be another African American friendly district. We could also put back the historically Towson district that was there prior, which existed between Paring Parkway and Falls Road. And in the Towson area, we've had a tremendous growth here as well. And we have issues that a lot of the other parts of the county don't have. We have an urban core, we don't have a mayor, we have the detention center, 2 universities, 2 hospitals, actually 3 hospitals. We have a lot going on, and it would be great to have our own council district. But I think ultimately going to 9 council districts is the way we need to go in Baltimore County. We need to have more of a leadership pool that would help us. It would add another African American district, and it would further let communities stay contiguous in these districts rather than stretch them out all over the place to try to keep them at 7. So that's all I wanted to say tonight. I'm speaking as a private citizen, and I think we need to find a way to get to that. And I don't know why the conversation never comes up. I've been sitting through these now for 2 decades, and we just never broach the subject of adding council districts. But thank you for your time.
Thank you, Mr. Ertel. We certainly appreciate your comments and your participation. Ms. Casper, next speaker, please.
Our next speaker is Daniel Columbek. I hope I'm saying that right. I'm so sorry if I'm not pronouncing names correctly. Are you there, sir?
Yes, thank you, and you pronounce it correctly. Thank you, and thank you, Chair Jones and council members. Whether we're digging a neighbor out of the snow, coaching in a rec council sports league, baking for a PTA fundraiser, nobody knows our communities better than the people who live in them. Whatever our color, background, or zip code in America, we value our freedom. The freedom to have a say in decisions that impact our lives, from increasing green spaces to creating new schools to making our community more walkable. But the Redistricting Commission's plan will divide us into districts serving other interests instead of our community's needs. It does not advance the common good, as it does not reflect the current county demographics. With the proposed map, the elected officials pick and choose who counts. This is wrong. We elect our leaders, they work for us, they have to work for our vote, they have to come to us for feedback, not wait for us to come to them. Around half of the county's budget is an investment in education. Instead of adding census tract until the magic number is reached, the Commission could have aggregated based on the feeder schools, thus making the elected Board of Education members more representative of that district's educational ecosystem, from pre-K to high school. It is possible to create fair and equitable maps. The ACLU, the NAACP, and Indivisible Towson, using the same census data as the Commission, have demonstrated that. Maps are just drawings, and census tracts are just numbers. These drawings and numbers affect people who should have the freedom to elect leaders that truly represent them, not only championing their causes, but also understanding the communities they represent. When everyone, regardless of color or census tract, has the resources they need to lead a better life, the community as a whole benefits. We can make our communities whole and deliver what our schools and families need for a decade to come. The Baltimore County Council needs to act with urgency in calling for additional hearings in all districts and rework the proposed Councilmanic boundaries. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Goldenbeck. You are my favorite Baltimore County astronomer, and really appreciate your participation. Next, we'll have Councilwoman Evans.
Thank you, Chairman Jones. I appreciate just a moment to make a comment, because I know the longer the meeting goes on, people tend to fall off the audience. So I'd like to thank everybody that's testifying this evening, and I'd like to thank everybody that's tuned in to listen on this very important matter. Yes, I agree with everyone that it is very, very important that you have representation that you value and which represents the community in which you live. And I understand your feelings and it's been, I think out of every speaker, all but one talked about people of color and having that representation. And yes, Mike Ertel, I agree with you. It's not 1955 anymore. So I'd like to know, why is there not a conversation, and when is there going to be a conversation? About 52% of the people that reside in Baltimore County are women. Why am I the only one out of 7, representing 52% of the population? Not 20%, not 30%, not 40%. I would represent 52% of the population. So when is that conversation going to happen? Thank you.
Thank you, Councilwoman Bevins. Ms. Valcastro, our next speaker, please.
Our next speaker is Gerald Morrison. Mr. Morrison?
Yes, I'm here. Good evening, Chairman Jones, Baltimore County Council. My name is Gerald Morrison, and I'm a representative of Baltimore County NAACP, where I hold the position of First Vice President. The Baltimore County NAACP, on behalf of the Black, Indigenous people of color, Baltimore County, continue to urge Baltimore County Council to reject the redistricting plan presented to you by the Baltimore County Redistricting Commission. We respectfully request the Baltimore County Council to adopt a redistricting plan that includes 2 major minority districts. The Baltimore County NAACP and the ACLU have presented indisputable, and I'll say that again, indisputable evidence that at least 4 redistricting proposals for 2 major minority districts can be created. We encourage members of the Baltimore County Council to examine and reject the Baltimore County Redistricting Commission's redistricting plan and consider the merits of our proposal before you produce your own redistricting plan. Minority voting rights are currently under siege in many states throughout the country. Political redistricting in these states is directly involved in accelerating the disenfranchisement of minority voters. We believe this nationwide movement has infected the redistricting process in Baltimore County. The Baltimore County Redistricting Commission redistricting plan choose to create a super minority 4th Councilmanic district without giving any considerations to the potential negative impact on minority voters and the potential legal consequences of such action. This decision was also made by the Baltimore County Redistricting Commission despite receiving earlier public testimony recommending creation of at least 2 major minority districts. Therefore, we challenge the Baltimore County Council to conduct another complete and thorough analysis of the current demographics of Baltimore County and produce a redistricting plan that can withstand technical scrutiny and, more importantly, adhere to the provisions set forth in the Voting Rights Act. The Baltimore County NAACP and the ACLU are keenly aware that members of the Baltimore County Council may find fault in the redistricting proposals that we presented. We welcome constructive criticism of our proposal, however it is. Our goal is to reach a consensus on the Baltimore County redistricting plan that will truly create a level playing field for the next 10 years where all eligible voters can have an opportunity to elect the candidates of choice. And thank you all.
Thank you, Mr. Morrison. Again, appreciate your comments and your participation tonight. Ms. Valcastro, next speaker, please.
Certainly, Mr. Chair. I just want to note our next speaker is Crosby King, who registered. I have been trying to find this person on our attendee list, even with the phone number that was given during the registration, and I cannot find them. And then the next speaker was Patty Nichols. I also cannot find Patty Nichols on our attendee list. If either of you are on this WebEx, please send me a message in the chat to let me know that you're on, but I cannot find you by your name or phone number that was registered. So I'm going to go on to the next speaker after that, and that would be Ms. Linda Dorsey Walker. Ms. Walker?
Good evening. My name is Linda Dorsey Walker. I want to speak against the proposed county council map and in favor of the map proposed by the Baltimore County NAACP and ACLU, specifically the one that increases minority representation in the county council, consistent with the Voting Rights Act of 1965. While their proposed map is open to some tweaking, it starts us down the right track, moving in the right direction at the right time. In addition, I wish to offer a supplemental plan that needs to move down a parallel track. Someone else mentioned something similar, which is to propose that, that we increase the number of seats open to minorities, including new Americans, women, young adults, LGBT, and others, by expanding the number of seats at the table from its current number of 7 to 11. 11, not 9, because we need to plan for the future, not for the next 10 years, for the next 30 or 40 years. I call this the For More initiative, which is, by the way, gaining in support. By the way, this is my third time bringing this concept in the last 27 years before the county council. The proposed county council redistricting map locks Baltimore County's minority population into having only 14% of the 7 seats. Even the NAACP proposal gives minorities only 28% of the seats, still not reflective of the county's 47% minority population. I want to correct something someone said earlier. In 1955, when the county council was established, the population of Baltimore County was 350,000. 7 councilmanic seats of 50,000 residents each seemed adequate then. Baltimore County's population is now 855,000, not 830,000. Yet we still only have 7 council seats. This disregards the massive increase in the county's minority population and the desire of other interest groups, such as women and young people, to have seats at the table reflective of their needs. The goal of attaining greater equity and fairness through smaller, more representative districts can be accomplished one of 2 ways. The Baltimore County Council could act as their counterparts in Montgomery and Prince George's County already have in response to public population growth. Specifically, they voted to have a question added to an upcoming ballot, which you can do as well, to amend the size of their county council through charter. In Baltimore County's case, the ballot question that I'm recommending would change the number of county council seats from 7 to 11, planning for the future, not just for the short term, beginning with the election year of 2026. That's when it would go into effect. 4 more council seats would resort in smaller districts of 78,000 persons per county council member. 4 more county growth over the next 30 years for more representative government that allows constituents to feel closer. 4 more seats would also improve and modernize the county governance and the handling of complex issues that now exist. Those 4 more seats would help members serve on county council work committees, create more opportunities for hiring of new staff with new skills. And it would also provide opportunities for minorities, women and youth and LGBT community members to serve at the local level.
Ms. Walker, could you please
Yes.
wrap up your comments?
Yes. To serve on the county council and for county council appointments to include them. Conversely, you could compel the public to go the more politically contentious route of initiating a public referendum, but I want to avoid that. Please choose to do the right thing. I ask you to exercise the selflessness of creating more minority seats in 2022, pursuant to what the NAACP wants to do, and also to create more seats for all people, women, people of different political perspectives, minorities, by 2026, by placing a question now on the 2022 ballot to expand our county council. And I thank you for your time.
Mr. Chair?
Oh,
Mr. Chair?
thank you, Ms. Dorsey Walker, for your participation and your comments. Next speaker, Ms. Belcastro.
Certainly, Mr. Chair. I think I may have found one of the two missing speakers. I'm not sure, but I'm going to try it really quick. Ms. Nichols? Ms. Nichols, are you there?
Yes, I'm here. Can you hear me?
Yes. Did you call in by phone?
Yes, because I couldn't get in the other way, even though I registered.
It's perfectly fine.
Right.
I just went through the list of callers and I did finally locate you. So you may begin your testimony.
Well, thank you. Good evening, Chairman Jones, members of the council, and members of the Redistricting Commission. I'm Patty Nichols, and I am a resident of Lock Hill, a beautiful, diverse Towson community. 10 years ago, Towson was split into 3 districts, and over the past decade has proven to be inefficient, confusing, unfair. The Redistricting Commission to reunite Towson communities and to wrap Lock Hill back into Towson, and we made our case for that. And we appreciate that we were heard and that we were put back in the same council district as Towson. However, our message was that all Towson communities should be in the same district, and that would include the northern communities that now have been sliced out. Kenilworth, Campus Hills, Cromwood, Towson Estates. So we request, again, that all Towson communities be united in the same council district and that those put in the 3rd should come back to the 6th with all of us. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Ms. Nichols. We appreciate your participation and your comments. Next speaker, Ms. Belcastro.
Our next speaker is Kimberly Robinson. Ms. Robinson?
Can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
Thank you so much. Good evening to the chair and members of the Baltimore County Council. I am Kimberly Robinson. I am the president of the Patapsco River, Maryland chapter of the Links Incorporated and a lifelong resident of District 4. The Links Incorporated is an international nonprofit corporation established in 1946 and one of the nation's largest and oldest volunteer service organization of extraordinary women who are committed to enriching, sustaining, and ensuring the culture and economic survival of African Americans and other persons of African ancestry. The Patapsco River, Maryland chapter has served the Baltimore County community for 31 years. It's been an interesting conversation during this evening's public hearing, and there's been some talk about sort of where we are as a community and where we are as a country, and the idea of a post-racial America is an admirable one. But voting patterns in this country, however, have shown that minority candidates struggle to win in majority districts. The residential patterns of Baltimore County residents is also reflective of some of the racial history of this country. The current District 4 only came to be as a result of litigation, rather. So we've got a history here in this county that I think you're hearing people react to when we're looking at where we stand demographically and what the current proposed map is suggesting. The power of the pen when it comes to redistricting is undeniable, and we believe it is imperative that those leading those efforts take fully into consideration the impact on communities. Like many of the speakers you've heard from today, I'm here to urge the council to seriously consider adopting a map other than that proposed by the Redistricting Commission. While we appreciate the work of the commission, given Baltimore County's voting age population is now 46% residents of color, we cannot help but take some pause to see that there will continue to only be a single minority majority district. So we urge the council to consider creating a different, fair, to continue a fair and transparent process as you consider your next steps and deliberate about maps, to create your own fair and equitable map to better represent the population of Baltimore County, to make certain that the voting power and participation of communities of color is not diluted or sacrificed, and again, to use the power of the pen to create greater representation of minorities in elected office. As you do your work, we urge you to keep at the forefront the question of whether or not what is being proposed fully adheres to the intent and expectation of the Voting Rights Act. And we will be advocating for these same principles with the state commissions considering our congressional and legislative maps. Our government at all levels has a long way to go to be fully reflective of communities and the makeup of our country. As an organization, we are committed to cultivating candidates of color and women, Councilwoman Bevins, as candidates for office. Today, you have the power to shape our Baltimore County Council for the next 10 years. We urge you to take your time to ensure a fair and equitable map. Thank you so much for the opportunity to speak to you today.
Thank you, Ms. Robinson. We certainly appreciate your comments and certainly appreciate your long service and the proud history of the Links and all they have done for our community. Ms. Belcastro, our next speaker, please.
Our next speaker, Mr. Chair, is Cheryl Gottlieb. Ms. Gottlieb?
Hi, yes. So I live on Joppa Road, basically adjacent to Towson Town Center. It looks like according to this map, so I'm in precinct 9-10, that I would be moved to Council 3, but the apartment building across the street from me is in precinct 911. That would be in Council District 6, even though we're literally across the street from each other. So this division does not make sense. I live in a very urban environment, and I already have concerns as somebody who is a non-driver living in an urban environment that are currently being ignored by my current county council representation. I sent an email on September 18th about a very dire issue that's just been ignored by everybody that I've sent it to. So I'm really concerned that, you know, as somebody who uses public transit and things like that, that sticking my neighborhood into a councilmanic district that is predominantly composed of communities, you know, north of Hunt Valley where there is no transit, that I'm not going to be getting adequate representation at all. It's going to be worse than what I already have. And I would also like to, you know, just tack on, you know, a Me Too to what everybody else has said about the racial and economic segregation in this county. We are much more segregated than the majority of, you know, other counties in this state. And I think that we need to consider that when building these, when drawing maps, and also consider that the makeup of the councilmanic districts, even though I don't have any children, it directly correlates to the makeup of who is going to be running from where for the school board. So this is both a, you know, just, you know, roads and trash pickup issue, but the makeup of these districts is also directly relates to the quality of education that our students receive. And I think it's disgusting the way that this meeting was, the lack of advertising for this meeting and the lack of publicity. And clearly it makes it seem like you guys have something to hide, that you're trying to pull something over on us. And I really don't appreciate it. So with that, I yield.
Thank you so much.
Mr. Chairman.
Mr. Chairman. Let me thank her for her comments and her participation. I appreciate it. Councilman Marks.
Thank you, Ms. Gottlieb, for your comments. Anyone who thinks I've ignored transit must not have been paying attention to the Towson Loop. But thank you very much for your comments. We appreciate that.
And thank you, Councilman Marks. And we are very proud of the Towson Loop. And I can say that it's been your baby from the very beginning. And Ms. Belcastro, next speaker, please. I'm happy for the Towson Loop. I look for more loops in other communities. Got it out.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Our next speaker is Ann George. Ms. George.
Good evening, everyone. I'm Ann George, and as many of you know, I'm a retired teacher from Baltimore City and Montgomery County, and I just retired from 15 years as a small business owner in dog behavior. I'm also an animal activist, and I'm a resident of Timonium, which is a very diverse community in District 3, and just south of another even more diverse community in Cockeysville. For my lifelong interest has been in diversity and inclusion and also social justice issues. And I support the previous participants who have expressed concern about these proposed redistricting. I also took note of Mr. Latchall's comments at the beginning here with some concern. He referred several times to Black or African American as being the minorities, and yet we really have such a growing minority of Latinos and Asians and mixed race and indigenous people as well. And I think that I see them emerging in our communities as in businesses and gainful employment, and they're moving upward in many ways. And I have to say that if they continue to see, people are mobile because they see potential in themselves in the roles that you play. And when you look at this council, it's almost embarrassing. As Ms. Bevins pointed out, 1 woman out of 7 and 1 African American out of 7, and the rest are white males. Now, I value the contributions of all the members of the county council, but this is almost embarrassing. If you look at the national level as well as the state level, there's far more diversity among the elected people. Now, it's true. If you don't see someone like you on the council, how can you aspire to have more leadership responsibility? So I think the other thing, for instance, he said that, well, whites vote for Blacks. Well, yeah, but, if you want to foster leadership and have more minorities represented in leadership positions, they have to see themselves, and you have to reach out. And that's the other thing he said that kind of concerned me. I know you guys do a lot of service, but it's not just trash pickup and the roads, it's also leadership of taking us into the century. I've been a resident of Baltimore County for 50 years. And I'm wondering, where are we going from here, and what vision you have and how you can start moving in that direction. If you keep just doing what you've done before, I mean, I really am a tremendous advocate of thinking out of the box here. And if you continue with this plan, there is some concern because you're ignoring the fact that there is a significant opposition in the county. And we want to work together with you. You're probably aware that in the last 5 or 6 years, there's much more involvement of citizens here.
Ms. George, if you could wrap up your comments, you're over your 3 minutes.
Right. I just want to say thank you for the opportunity to talk, and I look forward to seeing where we go from here. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. George, for your participation and your comment. Ms. Belcastro, next speaker.
Certainly. I want to note our next speaker, a registered speaker, was a Joe Goodman. I have tried to find Mr. Goodman via the phone number he registered with, and of course his name, and I cannot find him on the list. I will continue to do so for both of the speakers that I have not located yet. So the speaker after that is Morgan Drayton. And let me. Morgan Drayton.
Hi, can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
Okay, thank you. Good evening, Chair Jones, members of the County Council, and members of the Commission. My name is Morgan Drayton, Policy and Engagement Manager for Common Cause Maryland, and I want to thank you for the opportunity to offer testimony before the Council tonight. In the interest of time, and as we've heard from a long list of speakers who have made a lot of my points for me already, I'll try to be brief. Common Cause Maryland urges the Baltimore County Council to create a new redistricting plan that fully considers the rights of Black and Brown residents in the electoral process in accordance with the Voting Rights Act, as demonstrated by materials submitted by our coalition partners, the ACLU of Maryland, NAACPs of Baltimore County and Randallstown, and Indivisible Towson. Using the same census data as the commission, we can see that an equitable redistricting plan would give BIPOC voters control of at least 2 county council seats while also meeting the requirements of the Voting Rights Act. So in light of Baltimore County's long history of racial inequality, especially when it comes to equal and effective government representation, it's imperative that the council take action to ensure that BIPOC County residents are afforded realistic opportunities to participate in the electoral process and to elect the candidates of their choice. I think it's also pertinent in light of a comment that Councilwoman Bevins made to consider that while I'm sure that the members of the Redistricting Commission are all well qualified and have done exceptional work in their positions, the commission itself is not representative of the makeup of Baltimore County when it comes to gender, race, and age diversity. So the council has an opportunity to fairly reflect its diversifying population, put voters' interests first, and to help ensure that the people choose their elected representatives rather than the other way around. Common Cause Maryland respectfully urges the council to return to the drawing board and create maps that reflect to the greatest extent possible the overall diversity of the county and comport fully to the requirements of the Voting Rights Act. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Ms. Drayton. Again, we appreciate your comments and your participation in all the great work that Common Cause has been doing. So, Ms. Belcastro, next speaker, please.
Certainly, Mr. Chair. Our next speaker is John Pinnock. Of course, I can't find Mr. Pinnock by his name, but I do see a caller that resembles the phone number that he registered with. So we are going to find out if this is in fact him. Mr. Pinnock? Mr. Pinnock? Apparently he isn't coming in very well. I'll try one more time. Mr. Pinnock? I will move on to the next speaker. Our next speaker is Peggy King. Ms. King?
Thank you. Good evening, Chairman Jones and members of the County Council. My name is Peggy King, and I have been a resident of West Towson for 25 years. As far as this redistricting map, I'm opposed to its current plan for many of the reasons that people have previously testified about, and I don't want to repeat all of that, but the reason I initially came to this meeting was to say that I believe Towson should be one district and not spread out into 4 districts. When we first moved to West Towson in 1996, there was a single member district in Towson. My district right now, or my precinct, is 9-6, which, as you can see, is a little cutout from the Beltway, when in fact I can walk to the Towson core in less than 5 minutes. So I don't know why our little part was taken out. I do also believe that we need more public input and another meeting or maybe 10 meetings in order to discuss this. This is a very serious issue, and it seems to have been taken very lightly and with no public input except for this evening. Additionally, several people or a few people have mentioned the increasing the number of the districts in Baltimore County, and I also agree with that, and that should be taken on at some point, although I know that's not why we're here tonight. Finally, I do want to thank our Councilman David Marks, who has done a lot for our district in Towson. And I thank you all for your time.
Thank you, Ms. King. We appreciate you participating, appreciate your comments, and thanks for hanging in there with us, because I know it's been some time. Ms. Belcastro, next speaker, please.
Our next speaker is Alethea McCaskill. Ms. McCaskill?
And we are, just for the record, we are probably somewhere less than 10 more to go. So, or 12 more to go. So if you're on the line, just bear with us. We're going to get to you shortly. Go ahead.
Ms. McCaskill?
Yes.
Hi.
Hi, good evening, Chairman Jones and the members of the council. Not to be repetitive, and so we don't lose any of the rest of the speakers that want to be heard tonight, I'm going to just say I ditto many of the comments that was made tonight. Councilwoman Bevins, thank you for that comment as well. I'm coming to you tonight, though, as a private resident here over in Councilmanic 4 district, specifically 44B. Thank you for yielding this time to me. I'm greatly concerned about the recommended redrawing of the councilmanic districts here in Baltimore County. I would also like to thank the commission too for their hard work on redrawing the maps, but it does stop short of true representation of residents of color. Although I would like to further the conversation as well on expanding districts here in the county to at least a 9-district councilmanic district. However, at best an 11 councilmanic district. I know that's not what we're here for tonight, so we'll just have to save that for another argument. I know I don't have to go through all the specific quotes because there has been many offered, and because we have such an astute councilmanic group, I know you already know all the statistics that has been recommended by the current council commission. The recommendations, though, however, is gerrymandering at best and does not reflect equitable communities. It would be appalling to know that there is any consideration to keep the current recommendation. I believe that although voters may at times vote along color lines, I believe we do vote for those who represent us better. I believe more districts can speak to the census data that shows a continued shift here in Baltimore County, and that we move towards an increase in our representation in this county. Yes, there is gerrymandering at all levels of government on both sides of the aisle, as Mr. Marks has mentioned tonight. And I don't want anyone on the council feel like we're specifically picking on Baltimore County Council tonight. This is just our opportunity to speak what we feel. So some people have said, I've heard from other council members that the maps look reasonable. And I know I'm paraphrasing this, and that the district lines isn't the problem, it's the lack of minority candidates running for office. Although communities of color have made strides, there are still gaps that remain for equitable political representation. We see that growth with Councilman Jones being only the 2nd sitting council person in this county. Congratulations to you. But let's not stop there, for I would categorize that growth as slow and infrequent. Let's not also get comfortable with your district and how the new maps will help you with your constituency, or you being able to cherry pick your voters. I urge you to create outside of that which was recommended, but you get comfortable with allowing fair maps to allow the opportunity for more candidates of color and allow voters to have options to vote for those who might understand their needs just a little bit better. I previously mentioned that I have lived in this district for 24 years. Within that time, I have witnessed a major decline in this area. I would hate to believe that the declination of this community was done by design. I urge the 7 council members to go back with discussion and decide the fate of the already underrepresentation of Baltimore County's residents. Reject the current recommendation brought to you by the commission, and that you would strongly consider the recommendations of other organizations like the ACLU and the NAACP, and withdraw and redraw the map so that there will be fair representation of all of us here in Baltimore County. please do not settle for this recommendation. There are so many other better solutions. And thank you for your time.
Thank you very much, Ms. McCaskill. Appreciate your comments and appreciate your participation. And next speaker, Ms. Belcastro.
Our next speaker is Elizabeth Brown. Ms. Brown?
Yes, can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
All right, thank you. Yeah, so my name is Elizabeth Brown, and hello, Mr. Chairman and council members. I live in current District 6, so special greetings to my council person, Kathy Bevins. I completely agree about needing more women in office, and we need to get more women candidates and women candidates winning. I'm actually here to testify about proposed District 5. A friend of mine, Fergal Malali, was not able to be here, and I just wanted to share some of his thoughts. My personally for me, I think issues of equity and keeping Towson together are the utmost importance, but I think a lot of people have spoken about that. And Fergal has been working with the maps and playing around specifically, and it seemed like I didn't know if other people would be speaking on what he had to say. So if you look at the map submitted by the commission, you should immediately notice something. Fergal tells us the inlets, bays, and peninsulas that make our county shoreline such a beautiful place have all disappeared, replaced by a smooth border. The maps extend beyond the coastline and into the bay, and perhaps, while perhaps the official boundaries of the county extend into the water, I don't know for sure, and that's not really the issue. I do know that crabs don't vote. When you redraw the district boundaries along the actual coastline to reflect where the voting people are, something unusual happens. The proposed District 5 gets pinched in the middle almost to nothing. The true shape resembles the silhouette of the heads of a kissing couple, touching only at the lips. The county charter has almost nothing to say about how fair districts should be drawn, but it does require that they be compact. The proposed District 5 is not compact, according to Fergal, and the commission offers no justification for why this shape was necessary. Now, I do not claim to be a legal expert, but common sense tells us that two regions joined by a narrow neck is the opposite of the meaning of compact district. Councilors, the least you can do is send this map back to the commission and ask for some properly shaped districts. But you could do more. You can ask the commission to justify their choices. Mr. Crandall has talked before about the, quote, whispers of corruption, unquote, regarding this body. I and others have already heard whispers that the commission drew this line or that line to satisfy specific individuals. Please refute these whispers. Ask the commission to define their goals for the map and to justify their choices in terms of how well they meet those explicit goals. But first, please reject the current map. Thank you very much for the opportunity to speak.
Thank you so much.
Mr. Chairman?
Ms. Brown, yes. Ms. Brown, thank you for your participation and your comments.
Mr. Chairman? Yes. Can I ask a question of either Mr. Phillips or Mr. Boswick?
You certainly may.
Baltimore County has Hart Miller Island, correct? Hart Miller Island is part of Baltimore County, correct?
Yes,
Mr. Marks, it is.
It is, yeah. And so, you know, it's not like Baltimore County's borders end at the shoreline. They extend to Hart Miller Island.
Yes.
I'm just clarifying that. Okay, thank you.
Councilman Marks, you are correct. It is a state managed property, however.
That's correct, but it is within Baltimore County's borders. So my point is that Baltimore County's borders do not end at the shoreline.
Correct. And,
okay.
And Mr. Chair, if I may, I have to call into question the last speaker's contention that I have said that the redistricting commission is somehow corrupt. I don't recall ever saying anything like that.
Okay.
Mr. Chair, I just need to put that on the record. I don't recall ever saying anything like that.
I don't recall you saying that either, Mr. Councilman Payne. Well, thank you, Ms. Brown and Ms. Castro. Who's our next speaker?
Our next speaker, Mr. Chair, is Beth Miller. Ms. Miller,
Yes,
you may begin your testimony.
thank you. Thank you for this opportunity to address the council. I'm speaking on behalf of the Green Towson Alliance. We opposed the October 6, 2021 map proposed by the Baltimore County Redistricting Commission for two reasons. One, the map fails to unite Greater Towson into a single district. And two, the map as drawn does not conform to the Voting Rights Act due to unlawful minority vote dilution. GTA wrote to the commission requesting Greater Towson be included in a single councilmanic district. Greater Towson can be defined as neighborhoods that consider Towson to be their downtown, and its perimeter closely resembles our association boundaries, which includes approximately 96,000 residents. This area is currently divided among 4 councilmanic districts. While the proposed District 6 is more contiguous, and we appreciate that, than the current District 5, the proposed plan persists in dividing Greater Towson among 4 councilmanic districts. Most alarming is the boundary change that divides downtown Towson into 2. Councilpersons, you must agree it would be unthinkable to split Pikesville, Catonsville, Essex, Owings Mills, Perry Hall, or Dundalk between 2 districts, but that is what is proposed for our county seat. The northern half of downtown Towson is proposed to move into District 3, which has completely different land use and land development and livability concerns than the more urban District 6, where the rest of downtown Towson would remain. Downtown Towson is within a performance-based zoning overlay district with environmental sustainability requirements that recognize the unique challenges of the urban setting, such as the heat island effect, lack of open space, poor air quality, and polluted stormwater runoff. Splitting the downtown Towson district between 2 districts could cause legislative gridlock on these and other important issues. The DTD and its nearby neighborhoods are a community, and the commission must implement its directive to provide districts that are compact, contiguous, and which in due regard is given to natural, geographic, and community boundaries. In keeping with our principles of environmental justice, GTA endorses the unanimous call this evening for maps that provide more racial equity and redistricting. Giving citizens an opportunity to expand the diversity of the county council will help address the outsized burden that minorities and low-income communities carry due to historic injustices and the disproportionate harmful effects of climate change. Ms. Bevins, we look forward to the election of the first Black woman council member from a second majority minority district. With all due respect to the difficult task of redistricting, the commission is obligated to comply with the Voting Rights Act, not personal beliefs about whether or not people vote based on color. We believe the Baltimore County Council can ill afford to invite completely avoidable litigation at a time when we must act on climate change and reckon with the county's legacy of racism. Please redraw the maps to put downtown Towson Overlay District and its surrounding neighborhoods in a single Towson district and comply with the Voting Rights Act by enhancing racial equity throughout Baltimore County. Thank you for your time.
Thank you, Ms. Miller.
Mr.
Chairman.
Mr. Chair, Todd Crandall again.
Who is asking to be recognized?
I am Wade Catch, and I think Todd.
Councilman Catch.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Chair. I just want to assure the residents of Towson, the 2 precincts that are south of the Beltway and connected to the 3rd district, that the people of the third district, I can assure you, would welcome you to our district. But let me just say, I do believe that the Beltway is a natural border, which we need to take very seriously. And I will do what I can to help unite Towson by moving precincts 9, 10, and 9, 6 back to Towson, because I do think that's where they belong. But again, I assure you that if that doesn't happen, the third district and the people of the third district will welcome Towson and those 2 precincts and work with the people of those precincts to for improvements or whatever it is that they are concerned about. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilman Catch. Councilman Crandall, did you have a comment?
Yes, I do. Thank you, Mr. Chair. I'm I appreciate the comments of our previous speaker. However, there's nothing in the proposed map that would split Dundalk from Essex. So, not quite sure where the speaker came up with that. It might be a little bit of confusion with what the state General Assembly map that is being considered is looked at, but there's no disuniting of Dundalk and Essex, and I would oppose that if that were the case. But I don't see that in the map that the commission has produced.
Thank you, Councilman.
And
Thank you,
Mr. Chairman,
yes,
just to
Councilman Marks.
clarify, Perry Hall is already split between the 5th and the 6th district, and it remains split under the current proposal.
Thank you, Councilman Marks. Ms. Del Castro, our next speaker, please.
Our next speaker is Danielle Smith. Ms. Smith?
Yes, I'm here. Can you guys hear me?
Yes, we can.
Awesome. Good evening, Chairman Jones and the rest of the council members. Thank you for this opportunity to speak. My name is Danielle Smith, and I am the chair of Black Women for Positive Change, the Baltimore chapter, and a member of a host of other organizations, as well as I also live in District 10. I will be brief and concise. I will not repeat the stats or the testimonies of the prior speakers, for whom I agree with 98% of them. I am in favor of this District 2 option. I am in favor of the 2-district option proposed by the ACLU, both the NAACP chapters, the League of Women Voters, as well as the majority of voters in these proposed districts. Representation is important and vital. It is imperative that individuals are a part of the decision-making process and that the districts are reflective of the people. This process will be in effect for 10 years. If Baltimore County legislators make these important decisions without considering what these citizens have said today, how is this any different than gerrymandering? Are we looking to find a legal loophole to use redistricting as the new gerrymandering? This is compacting a specific set of minority voters, limiting their ability to affect rules, laws, and regulations, which will be responsible for affecting growth and change for years to come. I've been a resident of Baltimore County for over 40 years, and the time for change and more representation is now. This is a move in the wrong direction. Those who are opposed to these redistricting efforts are a part of an effort to facilitate justice and promote equity. We also need seats at the table on boards and commissions. In addition to the council, representation is needed at every level of advocacy and politics. It's what democracy is. We elect our leadership, and they are supposed to represent us, not them choosing who they want as constituents. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much, Ms. Danielle Smith, for your participation tonight. your advocacy on so many issues, and I really appreciate you speaking.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Ms. Belcastro, next speaker.
Our next speaker is Danielle S. Danielle.
Well, Danielle Smith just spoke. Is this Tom?
Are you saying Danielle Singley?
Yes, but you only put in your last name, the first letter of your last name when you submitted
how
your
that happened.
registration.
No worries. Good evening, council members. My name is Danielle Singley. I am a registered voter and resident of the wonderful Westview Park community located in Cape Needles, Maryland, in Councilmanic District 1. I am also the chair of the Randallstown NAACP's Task Force on Revitalization of Security Mall, an executive board member of the Randallstown NAACP branch, a native to Baltimore County, having been raised in Woodlawn and a descendant of the African-American historic East Towson community. Like the vast majority of everyone on this call tonight, I am here as a constituent to oppose the current proposed redistricting map that was developed by the Baltimore County Redistricting Commission, and to specifically request the map be redrawn to define at least 2 districts being majority Black or African American. As many have already stated, Census 2020 data shows 47% of the Baltimore County population are now people of color, with the majority identifying as Black or African American. When it comes to representation, advocating for services, and prioritizing the needs in the community, numbers matter and the wheel gets the oil. The Commission's map perpetuates the marginalization of the Black community by splitting majority Black communities such as Woodlawn into several districts, diluting the Black community's collective voting power, and ensuring Black voices remain on the sidelines of priorities. Our Black votes matter. We all know those who we elect have the power to introduce or change laws, appoint officials to boards, commissions, or agencies, and prioritize fiscal and community needs which impact communities for decades to come. This is more than an issue of color. This is about better ensuring those who run for office and are elected to represent us are likely to have the appropriate cultural competency, experience, perspective, ideals, beliefs, and understanding of our specific community needs, and the ability to articulate and prioritize those needs. This is about neighborhood revitalization, schools, streets, community centers, open green space, historic districts, trash collection, and everything else that we talk about every day. This is about the law. And Baltimore County has a moral and legal duty to uphold the Voting Rights Act of 1965 and ensure the Black community has equal participation and representation in the political and voting process. Thank you.
Ms. Singley, thank you so much for your service, your participation tonight, and your comments. We certainly welcome. Ms. Belcastro, did we skip Mr. Tom Glancy?
Actually, I was going to note that I did not skip him. I cannot find Mr. Glancy on our attendee list. So while Ms. Singley was giving her testimony, I was seeing if I could find him via the phone number he registered with, and I cannot find him with his phone number either. So I will have to skip. I will continue to search, as I will for the other 2 missing registered speakers. Our next speaker would be Victoria Vestrich. Ms. Vestrich?
Okay. Okay. I'm unmuted. So, yes. I am Victoria. Good evening, Chairman Jones and council members. I am Victoria Vestrich. I'm a constituent in District 2 and have lived in the county since 2002. I wish to publicly state that I oppose the county council redistricting map as it currently exists on the following grounds. And on the fly, because all of my statements have been more eloquently spoken by previous attendees, that's the result of coming towards the end of the speakers list. I'll try on the fly to shorten my comments. So my first objection is the entire process was embarrassingly opaque and rushed. The received impression is that county council prefers to avoid public involvement. This hearing, for example, was obscure and only posted on the Jeffersonian, which has no broad public subscribership or wide distribution. And the hearing date was set only several weeks after the public release of the maps and report. Residents insufficient time to gather data and prepare remarks. Second, the most important objection is the proposed map is clearly in violation of the Voting Rights Act of 1965 by squeezing 70% of the African American community into a single district, and other community activists have demonstrated that at least 2 majority minority council districts can be created from the 2020 census data. Third, the proposed map is in violation of the county charter, which requires districts to be contiguous and compact. This refers to both District 6 and District 5. And the testimony was given earlier by Ms. Brown from Fergal Malali that the District 5, my image is that it looks like a jellyfish with a large head, a narrow neck, and then long tentacles at the coastline. And then my fourth and final objection, and I'll read this one, all my words. Because Baltimore County Public Schools candidates for school board run by Councilmanic District, how the districts are drawn will have a direct impact on who runs for school board and whether schools are fairly represented. I did not have sufficient time to examine current concentration of poverty in schools data, but I know from my volunteer work with Student Support Network at Parkville High School, not in the district where I live, and activism with Strong Schools Maryland, that this is a growing issue across Baltimore County. And it became publicly evident during the height of the pandemic in 2020 and 2021, this growing issue of poverty throughout the county. We can be a better, forward-thinking, more vibrant Baltimore County when we raise up the voices of all our residents. Thank you for your time this evening.
Thank you, Ms. Vesrich, especially thank you for hanging in there so long. You're now down to 4 more speakers. Ms. Belcastro, next caller.
Our next registered speaker was Rob Carlson. I cannot find Mr. Carlson on our list, so I'm going to go down to the next registered speaker, who is Tom Nishaw. Mr. Nishaw?
Correctly, yes.
Did I pronounce that correctly?
Nishaw.
Ah.
Thank you for allowing me to speak before the council tonight. I'll be brief. My name is Tom Nishaw. I'm a member of the Greater Kingsville Civic Association Board of Directors, and I'm co-chairman of the Kingsville 4th of July Parade Committee. I support Kingsville staying in District 5. Councilman Marks has done a terrific job of representing the Kingsville community. He's very sensitive to the rural character of our area, and I again support Kingsville remaining in District 5. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mr.
Thank you, Tom.
Nishaw. Appreciate it. Go ahead, Councilman Marks.
I just thanked him. That's it.
Okay, thank you. Ms. Belcastro, next speaker, please.
I apologize, I was muted. Our next speaker is Karen Breathwaite Yarn.
Can you unmute me, please?
Yes, ma'am, I have unmuted you. You may begin your testimony.
Excellent, excellent. Good evening, everyone. I entreat the Baltimore County Council to reject the redistricting plan presented to you by the Baltimore County Redistricting Commission. I respectfully request the Baltimore County Council to adopt a redistricting plan that includes 2 majority-minority districts. Minority voting rights are currently under siege in many states throughout the country. Political redistricting in these states is directly involved in accelerating disenfranchisement of minority voters. I believe this nationwide movement has infiltrated and infected the redistricting process in Baltimore County. The Baltimore County Redistricting Commission's redistricting plan chose to create a super majority minority 4th Councilmanic district without giving any consideration to the potential negative impact on minority voters and the potential legal consequences of such action. This decision was made by the Baltimore County Redistricting Commission despite receiving earlier public testimony recommending creation of at least 2 majority-minority districts. I challenge the Baltimore County Council to conduct another complete and thorough analysis of the current demographics of Baltimore County and produce a redistricting plan that can withstand technical scrutiny and, more importantly, adhere to the provisions set forth in the Voting Rights Act. It should be the County Council's goal to reach a consensus on a Baltimore County redistricting plan that will truly create a level playing field for the next 10 years where all eligible voters can have an opportunity to elect their candidates of choice. Thank you very, very much. Thank you for your patience.
Thank you, Ms. Let's see, Brathwaite Lawn.
Correct.
Thank you so very, very much for your comments and for hanging in there with us. And we really appreciate your participation. And the next speaker, Ms. Castro, which is our last speaker on the list, unless you found some of the ones who disappeared.
Actually, Mr. Chair, I am trying to assist 2 of our previous called speakers. For some reason, they weren't able to log into the WebEx. And I just want to note to people that are listening, sometimes there are some technical issues. We had at one point 130 people on here tonight. And if we only have 2 people that can't log on, sometimes those technical issues are on their end and not on ours. I do apologize. I am trying to work with them right now while we're calling other speakers to get them on. And we did have 1 straggler speaker, Mr. Chair, and I did send an updated list. So we actually have 2 speakers right now, and I'm still working with the other 2. So our next speaker is, and I hope I say this right, Rosita Gray. And let me see if I can find. Which I cannot find that person on here as well. So our last speaker that I have listed here is Tana Hamilton. And I did see Ms. Hamilton on here earlier. Hopefully she is still on. Ms. Hamilton, are you there?
I am here.
You may begin your testimony.
Thank you. Good evening. Others this evening have spoken about very specific concerns, but I'd like to speak about the importance of equity for the vision of this county in this process of redistricting. I'm co-president of the League of Women Voters of Baltimore County and a resident of District 3. I am also the mother of multiracial children. I moved to Baltimore County from Louisiana because I was impressed with the forward-thinking leadership and the quality of the school system. I wanted my children to have better opportunities here. The Baltimore County Master Plan 2030 boasts of equity, sustainability, and vibrant communities in its tagline. It defines equity as being inclusive in our decision-making, ensuring equitable distribution of resources, and creating opportunity for all. That's the vision of this county. Democracy matters, especially at the local level. Without fair and equitable representation, we are being complicit in continuing systemic racism and limiting the participation of people of color and their opportunities for leadership. I urge the County Council to draw a new map with the primary regard of serving the people, not retaining outdated power structures. Create a Baltimore County where there are more opportunities for my children and all people of color to serve. Baltimore County needs at least 2 majority-minority councilmanic districts. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Ms. Gray. Thank you again for your participation and your testimony, and we thank you for staying on the line so long. Ms. Belcastro, any luck with the people that missed their turns early?
That would be Mr. Crosby King and Mr. Tom Glancy. I'm multitasking here, Mr. Chair. I emailed both of them personally and sent them the attendee link. I've been looking and I don't see them logged on. Let me give it one more look here. I've even been looking for their phone number. Of course, I want to note to people, that's why we don't encourage people calling in by phone. I can only see the first 6 digits of the phone number that you're calling in from. So,
Ms. Belcastro, you did a fantastic job. And we really appreciate it.
but I cannot find those 2 gentlemen on here. I've been looking by phone number and as of course their names as well. But I'm sure they can still, I'm sure you'll let them know that there's still opportunity to send in written testimony, and I'm sure the council isn't finished taking testimony on this issue, so.
Yes, so again, if somebody wants to send in an email, they can send it to Council 4. Council 4 is me. You can certainly send it to me. The way it works is Council 4, and then every other person, their particular district with the number behind it. But if you were to type County Council at Baltimore County MD, it would go .gov. It would go to all of us. So this will conclude our hearing tonight. I have some comments, but I will offer my colleagues, if they have any comments they would like to make, I'll give you an opportunity to make them first, and then I'll wrap it up, and then we will conclude tonight. So any questions or comments from the members?
Mr. Chairman?
Mr. Chair?
Yes, Councilman Marks, and then Councilman Pope.
I just want to thank everyone who testified. As I said in the Baltimore Sun today, I have an open mind toward all of these constructive comments. I think many of the speakers offered extremely intelligent viewpoints, grounded in fact, and I appreciate everyone coming tonight and speaking before the council. I do want to bring up the fact that one thing was never raised tonight about diversity, and that is diversity of opinion, political diversity. And I think that's also something important we should be looking at. And you don't necessarily get it with a map, but you know what? It's pretty important in our discussions as policymakers that we have viewpoints of many of people of different backgrounds considered. So if we look at this overarching issue of diversity, let's not forget the idea of political diversity, diversity of thought, of opinions, of viewpoints. It's pretty important in a democracy to have that as well. And I think this council, has a good degree of political diversity, more than many other jurisdictions. I think it has served us well in many cases. But thank you all for participating tonight.
Thank you, Councilman Marks. Councilman Pope.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I just want to take a moment to thank everyone that participated in our redistricting process, and the process continues on. I've read the reports. I've seen 4 different maps, but words matter and tone matters. And even hearing some things I've read in emails, hearing the voice and the inflections of the passion that many of the speakers, that actually I would say all the speakers have brought forward, it allows us to understand it a little better. Emails, it's very difficult to read and to identify tone in an email. Much easier to identify it in voice and sentences that were presented tonight. And so I just want to thank everybody for participating. I think we've got a ways to go in the process. And I think my colleagues and I are all ready to dig in and come up with something
that may be more palatable for our county.
Thank you, Councilman Patoka. Any additional comments from the members?
Chairman Jones.
Yes, Councilman Quirk.
Yeah, thank you, Chairman Jones. And I too just wanted to thank everybody for participating. Heard a lot from Towson tonight. Heard a lot from the African American community. When I'm looking at some of the demographic analysis, comparing 2010 versus 2020, one thing I'm definitely obviously seeing, I think we all are seeing, is a lot more Hispanic population, a lot more Asian population as well. And it's definitely something you can see both those demographics increasing number as well. And so I do appreciate everybody's input. It was a long night, so I appreciate the people, especially toward the end, that hung in there. And I also wanted to recognize Bob Latshaw and the commission. They're all good people. They're all did a great job. Not even for a moment do I think there was something untoward. I think everybody did a very good job. So I did want to appreciate the work you did, Mr. Latshaw, and your committee or your commission. And I'm sure we'll have more discussions as we work through this. But it was a helpful night to listen to everybody. So thanks.
Thank you, Councilman Quirk. Any additional comments or questions from the members? Okay. I want to just thank everyone for your participation tonight. Really appreciate all the callers and all the people who listened in. We had somewhere in the neighborhood of close to 40 people who testified, and we had, over 100 people listening in. So I just want to take this opportunity to thank each and every one for participating. We have heard you, and the reality is we are a better government. We are a better council when we do, in fact, hear from you and your voice was loud and clear. I am certain that my colleagues, and I'm taking a little liberty to speak for them, but I'm sure they, and I can promise you myself, that I will be looking at every email that comes in. We will study each and every map that is proposed. I will work hard to see if there is a way that we can fulfill the requests of many of the callers who called here today in terms of coming up with maybe another district, another majority district. It has always been my belief that clearly 30% would justify, the number would justify 2 districts. The question has always been, how do you do it? And I'm here to tell you that we are working on it. We're going to see what we can come up with. And I thank the commission for their work. And I thank all the people who called in. And, stay tuned, and we will continue to take input and take suggestions. And again, I will be working on some maps of my own. And I know that the NAACP and others have submitted additional maps today. And over the next couple of weeks, more people will be submitting maps. And we will be looking at it and trying to come up with what's best for Baltimore County.
Mr. Chairman,
Yes,
may I say something?
you can. I was going to be the last word, but go ahead, and then I'll be the last word again.
I want, on behalf of the commission, thank everybody for their input also. And I want to thank Jim Allman from the commission, who's an attorney, Sam Newberger, who's an attorney, Aaron Plymouth, the community activist, and Sophia Montgomery, the businesswoman from Northeast sector. But more importantly, I want to thank all of you. Being a councilman is tough. We don't have as many women, we said, 52.7% of the population is female, and we only have 1 female on the council. Most people don't want your job. It is a difficult job. As much maligned as the Redistricting Commission was tonight and referred to as supporting systemic racism, which I strongly object to. You council people deal with the public 7 days a week, 365 days a year. I don't know how you do it. I couldn't, but on behalf of the commission and the citizens of Baltimore County, thank all 7 of you for what you do. God bless you all.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Latshaw. And again, I thank all my colleagues for your attention today. And again, I can't thank the callers enough for your participation. Don't let this be the last time we hear from you. Continue to send in those emails and phone calls, and we will take it all into advisement and come up with something that hopefully we all can be happy and proud of. So thank you very much for joining us today. May God continue to bless each and every one of you. All right. Bye.
Good night, everybody.
Good night.